I'm going to call the Coos Bay City Council meeting to order. Would everyone rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Rob Miles will be attending virtually, and Lucinda was unable to make it, Sarah Stevens, and Carmen Matthews. But we have a quorum, and so the meeting will move forward. Anyway, the first item on the agenda is public comments. So this is the time to come forth and give us a public comment. Preferably now would be if it's something that's not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, we would prefer that you wait till the agenda item comes up. I see Harry Abel wants to talk about item number 4. And so you're more than welcome to make comments at both times, but preferably that would be the time that we would want to address that. But also we'll take any of the comments. Just come forth and give us your name and where you reside. I just want to make some clarification. We won't respond immediately to your comment. We'll take all the comments. And if necessary, the council or maybe some of the staff will be directed to respond to the comment. Sometimes it's misunderstood by you just standing there thinking that we're going to come back with an answer, and that's not necessarily the case. We might not even come back to the answer, give you an answer at the end of the meeting after the comment, but we'll keep it in mind, and then we'll get the answer if we can and get back to you. Okay? So, Harry, you want to wait till item 4? Okay? Ken, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to say I want to thank our hospitals, our police and fire, and all of you for all that you do for the state and county and cities. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, our police and are always on their toes and doing a lot of work, and the firemen and all the first responders. So we do appreciate it. Thank you. Next one is Jim. How are you this evening?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm not going to be able to come to the meeting we're having on Monday. I thought I would stop by today and kind of clue you in about some thoughts that we have in our community up where we live. And the first thing I'm going to hit you with is some numbers that you've seen before in some other correspondence. From December 2016 until now, we've had 11 vehicle break-ins in our 110 house neighborhood. Okay. We've had 8 home break-ins. Counted in that 8 is one where the owners stopped the break-in because they saw them trying to open the back door and scared them away, or back window. On the car break-ins, that includes a car theft. Okay. On property, theft of property out of yards, sheds, including mail theft, from December 2016 to 2022, 5.5 years, we've had 8 mail thefts, gasoline cans being stolen, kayaks being picked up. So we've got 27 times that we've had property crime in 5.5 years. And Chief Kapanar a couple of years ago and I sat down and we talked about our numbers and where they were in a spatial relationship on a map and who was getting hit where and all of that, and possible reasons that we might be getting crime visitors from outside the city coming in to commit property crime. And we kind of came to the conclusion that we need to stay the course, which is we have a active neighborhood watch. We don't have long rifles on the corner. What we have is a telephone tree and an email tree, and we share information among ourselves. But in looking at all these numbers over this 5.5 year period, the single thing that stands out is an overwhelming majority of the people that have this happen to us in our neighborhood are people new to the community. They are not aware that our correction system can't take care of our problems, our mental health system is grossly underfunded, and that we are on the short end of the stick in the DA's office, in the jail, in mental health, in housing for people that are displaced. They don't understand that until they have something taken or a home break-in or a car gone through. On our unauthorized car break-ins, we haven't had one in about 2.5 years, Chief. The last one we think he forgot to lock his back door to the car. But because we have a watch program and because we talk among ourselves, and we are a very diverse group of folks, okay? We don't have near the problems that we could have had, okay? I just want to share that with you guys.
Thank you, James. Any other public comments? Well, we have, is it Pete? Or,
I thought it was a sign-in sheet.
okay, so you're going to be at another item, or, okay. And David?
Yeah, I thought it
Same
was
thing?
signing
Okay.
roster as well, so-
That's fine, okay. Anyone else like to make a comment at this time? You were thinking about it, David, you sure?
You know, I was thinking maybe
Just come up and,
after hearing some of the meeting, maybe I'd have a comment
okay,
come to mind, maybe
Oh.
next time.
okay, all right. If you want to refer, if you want, I can, I'll be glad to listen to you at the end of the meeting if something comes up. Okay? All right, so go ahead and close the public, did you want to make any public comments? Anyone just walking in? No? Okay, I'll close the public comments. James, you, I think summed it up pretty well. Some information came out on Friday update in the newsletter that went under the mayor's article. There'll be another follow-up. A lot of things that you mentioned are things that we're dealing with. We're going to be addressing that pretty heavily on the 25th, on Monday. We're having a town hall meeting for everyone that might know on Monday at 5:30 right here to discuss mainly homelessness, some crimes, things that have been going on, things that James just got done mentioning. We're going to tell you what has been done, what can be done, and try to interact with the people that needed to get some information out. And I think you summed it up. Neighborhood Watch seems to work. I know there's some in around, like in East Side also, and some other places. So I appreciate those comments, and we'll make sure we get those included. All right, with that being said, we're going to move on to the meeting. The first item on the meeting is the consent calendar. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I move we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing to consider an enactment, look at my page here. Enactment of ordinance amending camping regulations in the Coos Bay Municipal Code. Who's going to, Roger, you're going to address this before we, I'll open it to the public hearing. Just going to let staff give us a brief.
Actually, Jennifer's going to be leading this off in Jim's absence.
All right.
Oh, excuse me.
You got it? I can take it. I'll take it.
Sorry, wrong person, wrong item.
Jennifer was surprised. Okay.
I will take it.
Chief?
Good evening. So staff is requesting council hold a public hearing and consider amending the camping ordinance to make provisions for a security watchman on specified types of vacant properties to help to deter nuisance. So I'm going to give you a little background. Staff has had repeated contact, actually from citizens. One particular vacant property owner been contacting codes enforcement about regarding some homeless encampments, garbage accumulation, and fire. The owner lives out of the area and is frustrated about spending money to clean up property, as it quickly becomes a nuisance again. Being limited in the options to patrol and/or deter such behavior, the owner is interested in permitting a recreation vehicle unit and a security person to stay on the property to actively deter trespassing and unauthorized camping. The owner is willing to provide for the sanitation needs of the RV and provide a written security plan for the occupant. The placement of the RV on the property is currently prohibited under our current camping ordinance. Staff brought the concept to the homeless work group for discussion and received the recommendation to amend the ordinance. Staff drafted the amended amendment, adding the new section to allow for a watch person and establish conditions for such approval. Some of the conditions include sanitation needs must be provided for the RV, and they are limited to larger parcels of land. It also limits a maximum of 2 adults per RV, and a written security plan must be provided to the city. The new recommended language can be found in Exhibit A of the attached ordinance. And this also has been reviewed by our city attorney. And so and I'll kind of walk through that exhibit just briefly, point out a couple things that I feel are important. And then if it pleases council to enact the ordinance amending the city council camping regulations, adding a section to make provisions for a security watch person on site to help deter nuisance conditions. Some of the things I would point out, and you can actually find this under our camping ordinance 8.45, and under number 7, some of the things I think worth noting, I had mentioned in there, they have to provide a safety plan, they have to provide sanitation, it has to be at least a 2-acre parcel. If it's under 2 acres, they have to get special authorization by the Public Works Director and or his or her designee. In addition, recreation vehicle can't be any closer than 10 feet from the property line. And again, only 2 adults can occupy it at any one given time. So that's kind of the background, and I'm open for any questions if anybody has one.
Council, any questions for the chief?
Just wanted to double check with you. You actually worked with, one particular property owner that has vacant property, but you also consulted with others as well about how this would work, and actually there is a cost to doing this, but it actually is less of a cost for them to have this proactiveness.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Anyone else on the council? All right. That not being the case, I'm going to open it to public hearing. So anyone would like to come forth and give us a comment on this item? This would be the time to do so. And Harry, you're first.
Well, I am Harry Abel Jr., and I live at 1054 C8 Avenue, and 1 year. But I am in favor of this, and police chief said occupied, that word I said unoccupied, no, but occupied, yes. And so I got these homeless people. I don't know where they will go, but I prefer that they not come in my backyard. So, thank you.
Thanks, Harry. Anyone else want to speak to this issue? Make public comment? Yes, come on up, please. Just give your name and where you reside.
Larry Muth, and I have a question. I have a little hard time hearing some of the stuff. But is this for all properties, or are we just referring to this one property?
No, it'll be all properties of 2 acres or more.
Oh, 2 acres or more, okay.
Anything less than that, they'd have to come get a special request. Is that right? Come before the council, or how's that? Where are they going to come?
It would actually, no, it'd be through the Public Works Director. It is designed for large parcels where the police can't see them. It wouldn't be for normally undeveloped lots in the city. It's generally the larger parcels, and we do have large swaths of land around the city. One as large as 300 acres.
Right. So what's happening is that well, you might be aware of it. So we have homeless camps being set up and causing some disarray, and then when we're called, we'll go in and escort them off, but then the property owner is responsible for cleaning up the property, and it becomes quite an expense, and so this would be a way that they can mitigate that, so.
Yeah, as far as putting, now, you're gonna want to put people on these, are you, are they gonna be screened or anything, or the people that are gonna be kind of the caretakers of it?
Well, there's going to be a security person, and Chief, you want to address that?
Yeah, so there's a process that they have to go through. They'll have to identify who they're going to place in this RV. They're going to have to come up with a safety plan, and then they'll provide that when they apply for this. And so they'll provide that information too, so our dispatch center knows who's staying on the property. In case there's an issue, we know who to get a hold of as well. So it's a process.
Yeah, I'm a landlord, so.
Okay, no problem.
So, yeah, I've been doing this like for 50 years, so, yeah, it's kind of, yeah, you gotta kind of watch who you put there. So,
Correct.
yeah. And sometimes you make mistakes. But,
True.
yeah.
We do. But it's and you know, that's the other thing with the ordinance is for everyone, you know, these are a living document, and if it needs to be changed for some reason, it'll be, you know, the chief would come back and make a recommendation, or Public Works, or the city manager, so that's how it works. But we're gonna start with this, where we had a camping ordinance. This was not in there. So now, this is an issue that needed to be addressed, and so we're gonna put this in the ordinance. And so hopefully this will take care of that situation, and doesn't mean this is gonna fix all by any means, but hopefully it's a step in taking care of some problems, so. Anyone else? Okay, hearing no more public comments on this issue, I'll close the public hearing. And then council, did you want to discuss this some more, or how would you like to proceed?
I move we enact an ordinance amending the city's camping regulations, adding a section to make provisions for a security watch person on site to deter nuisance conditions.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to enact an ordinance amending the camping regulations in the Coos Bay Municipal Code. Are there any other discussions? Hearing none. Melissa, can I do the roll call, please?
An ordinance amending Coos Bay City Ordinance 545 with amendments to Coos Bay Municipal Code Title 8 Health and Safety Code Section 8.45. Counselor Farmer.
Aye.
Counselor Kilmer.
Aye.
Counselor Miles. Aye. Mayor Benetti.
Aye.
Ordinance number 559 has been duly enacted.
Thank you. And thank you for the comments, everyone. Next item on the agenda is resolution adopting council goal to establish a uniform standards for the placement of the streetlights. Jennifer?
Yes, thank you.
This is yours, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So one of City's council goals for 2021 through 2023 is to draft a streetlight policy to establish uniform standards for the placement of streetlights. This policy's been drafted, and it was presented at the last work session in June. This policy is not uncommon. It can be found in many cities throughout Oregon. This policy does not address funding for installation and monthly and power and maintenance costs, as that is done in the Coos Bay Municipal Code Chapter 18. So this policy does, though, address when we need to replace or install a street light in an existing right-of-way. It considers factors such as traffic, crash data, and roadway characteristics. We also use the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, otherwise known as AASHTO, which they provide minimum thresholds to consider when you're looking at street lighting. These thresholds are called lighting warrants. However, under this policy, meeting a lighting warrant does not obligate the city to undertake this project. The attached policy sets guidelines for installation of street lighting when installing new or replacing new traffic signal poles. The policy also provides general guidelines for spacing of the street lights based on street classifications. The policy also states that LED luminaries are the requirement for new lighting installations along city streets. And that was discussed at the work session, and the policy has been updated. So budget impacts are none. If it pleases the council, adopt Resolution 22-20 approving the City of Coos Bay policy for uniform placement of streetlights.
Comments for Jennifer on this? No one? I think it's pretty straightforward. So, council, how would you like to move forward?
I'll move that we adopt Resolution 22-20 approving the City of Coos Bay policy for uniform placement of streetlights.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt council goal to establish the uniform standards for the placement of streetlights. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. And those are the items for us to address this evening. So now we're at the city manager's report. Roger?
Well, I'm really pleased that the council adopted the camping ordinance. You just heard earlier during public comments the benefits of Neighborhood Watch. And this allows a key component, and that is to have someone on the property that can be the eyes and ears to not only help protect the property on behalf of the property owner, but then can contact the police when things go awry. So an important component. You know, it's exciting times right now. It's the summer months. There's lots going on. We have the music festival occurring currently, and 3 of those events are occurring at our own library. In addition, we'll have community fairs happening, or excuse me, county fair is happening, even though it's in Myrtle Point. Just a couple weeks away from the Big Kahuna swim meet. Great place to be in Mingus Park if you want to watch swimming. Great place to avoid if you want to get through without congestion. And then Blackberry Arts Festival is not too far away. In fact, I think they're asking for vendors. So lots happening here on the coast.
All right.
That's all I have today.
All right. Thanks, Roger. Rob? Council comments. Rob first.
I don't have anything to add there, thank you.
All right. Drew?
The camper ordinance gave me a stray thought. Do we have much interaction with about the 117 acres the port owns in East Side? Or would that be something they might want to explore? I have to imagine that much land, they have trouble.
Actually, I was at a meeting earlier this week with the port, Commissioner Cribbins and Stephanie Hadley, who is working on housing.
Good.
And having discussions about that, and especially in light of the fact that there may be some larger port-related projects in the pipeline. That's probably a bad pun. But there are discussions. I don't know that they know what's going to happen with their property yet, whether it be housing or they may ask to go back to industrial. But there actually is quite a number of people that actually access that property for the trails.
Yeah.
So it does get a fair amount of visits.
That's all I had.
Okay. Stephanie?
I actually had a list today. It'd probably take longer than the council meeting. No, I'm just kidding. First of all, Roger mentioned the Blackberry Arts Festival. I had hot off the press posters that I was going to bring for the council meeting tonight. They are calling for vendors, and people are very excited about having the festivals back this year. Following the Blackberry Arts Festival is the Fun Festival, and popping up on my screen, although I wasn't paying attention to it, were cruise registrations. So all of the activities that we have been missing for a couple of years are going to be happening again. So look for a lot of information about that. A nice presentation today by the mayor at the Coos Bay North Bend Rotary Club. Always appreciate the opportunity to hear what's happening in our community, and he did an excellent job today. It was regarding the library, but it was a follow-up, and there was some good questions and good information that came from that. So appreciate that our staff and you did that today. Also, I had an opportunity to travel to Lakeside last week and meet with some of their community leaders. And contrary to some popular belief, we all are facing a lot of the very same issues. They're unique in their situation up there, but very interested in what's happening with homelessness and housing issues here, because that does impact them. And so a great conversation, but fantastic opportunities that they are creating for themselves with tourism. And so I would encourage you, if you get a chance, to go up there and see what's happening. Finally, speaking of homelessness, the meeting on Monday, I know you're probably going to talk about that, but can't reiterate that enough. The community has been asking for help in dealing with the issues that surround homelessness, and there are a lot of things happening, and that's going to be a great opportunity to learn about that, and that's here at City Hall. And then finally, I want to thank, even though he's not here, Councilor Matthews. There was some vandalism at Mingus Park, and it hit one of the social media channels, and people were very disappointed to see the work that had gone into placing one of the little libraries there. Ended up in the pond, and he saw that. He went down, he fished it out of the Mingus pond, and put that back in place. And I appreciate that he took the time to do that, because he's a very busy person, I'm sure, and but sees the value of it, as does the community. And so that just leads me to say, if you see something, say something. If you see vandalism happen, it affects us all, make sure you call it in so that we can, take care of whatever the situation is that is occurring. But also, our people that are on staff can't be everywhere, so it also helps us to know where trouble is happening and if something needs to be fixed. We have a lot of very important gems in our community that are used by all of us, and so I appreciate when people take the time to see it and let us know when there's an issue. And that's all I had.
All right, thanks. I had the opportunity to go ahead and speak about the library bond that failed, but it was more informative of where do we go from here and how do we get there. And we can always do that by talking to our citizens and finding out their feelings and thoughts. And so if we continue to do that, we need to have that dialogue. I still believe that we need a new library. However that comes about, that the people will support. And so we need to find that suggestion from our citizens on how they would support something like that. So be prepared. We're going to continue to ask and inquire and get your thoughts before we move forward on any new library project. The other thing is I want to reiterate what Roger said about the summer programs. We have a lot of tourism coming in, and so we see a lot of activity. We're fortunate now. COVID's still around, but things are opening up. People are being somewhat cautious, at least I hope they are. But you'll see activities like the Blackberry Arts Festival, the Fun Festival, and also you'll see our farmers market going on and different activities throughout the community and the fair. So it's great to see people getting out and enjoying themselves and enjoying our community. The other thing I want to commend everyone on is the volunteers. Carmen Matthews, counselor, did that, but James, the Neighborhood Watch, his group does it. These things make our city. Without it, we have over 100 volunteers, and we could use more. Another thing that came up, the John Toppett's Park is being cleaned up. James is involved with that with a group out there, and they go out there once a month, and they clean up that park, and those are strictly volunteers. Some of our police officers have been involved, and some of our public works people go out there and help accommodate that. So it's a working effort, and without those type of volunteers that I so much appreciate, and this council does, and so does the staff, a lot of things won't be what they are today in our community. So I want to say thank you and kudos to everyone that volunteers in whatever capacity they do. And so that's the end of my comments. I thought I had something else, but I didn't want to make the list any longer than Stephanie's, so I'll end there. David, this is your chance. Did you have one make a comment?
I'd be curious, actually, seeing it just came up in the discussion, some of the pros.
Can you just come up, please, David,
Yeah.
and just tell us where you reside, what city? So.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear about some of the pros and cons. I know it's not really a comment, but regarding the initiative to move the current library from where it is it the John Toppett's Park
Correct.
area?
What the reasons were to move it?
Yeah, kind of perhaps the budget, the timeline. I don't
So-
mean to really extend things.
Yeah, the
but-
reason that it wasn't located downtown is at that time, it started in 2014. I'll try to make this somewhat quick.
Yeah.
In a flood zone and also a tsunami zone. So we wanted to build it. The discussion was to build it outside that. So we couldn't find anything that would fit that criteria without taking out housing or some other things. So the library steering committee looked, and we went to Empire, and then we looked at two sites out there. One of them that was chosen was the Empire John Toppett's Park. The other was a piece of property next to Graham Dodge that we had purchased with the intent of doing that. This other piece came up by the park. We sold that piece of property. We'll utilize that. We were going to utilize it for the library out there. Now we'll just put the funds back in urban renewal and we'll determine where those funds are used. But that was the reason that site was chosen. It was defeated significantly by 60% of the votes said no and 40% said yes. So that's that's a resounding defeat. And so it's now we're going to step back, do an analysis, and talk to our citizens and see, was it too much money? Is that the wrong spot? Do we need to think about somewhere downtown again? But whatever it may be, we're going to reevaluate things and try to come up with something that the voters will support.
Okay.
The Library Foundation, which is a private foundation, is going to go out and do a poll and try to get some more data and information that way. Today, we had a meeting at the Rotary and I made a presentation, and one of my main intents was to do a small poll, and we went around and asked, what they felt. And so we got, basically those 4 items were, discussed. So,
Okay.
so that's
Good
how
to
that
know.
happened.
No, I've heard about it over the last couple months.
Right.
And I haven't been very well educated myself, but I thought while I had the chance, it was an item that came up that I thought was interesting for me at least. So,
And I'm glad you asked.
yeah,
All right.
thank you.
All right, look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else? Hearing none, I will close this council meeting and adjourn it. We don't have an urban renewal one, so I want to thank you everyone for attending. It's always appreciated. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Might be a new record.
I know.
Those 3 new records.